just standing here in these beautiful surrounds, it's hard to imagine that I went through 18 months of abuse at the hands of my parents and other people. I've done this exercise as a healing exercise for myself, to revisit the places where, as a child, I had no control over adult activities, and it pains me to say that this experience is probably the most fearful thing I've done in my life. To actually come back and be triggered by buildings and memories and locations, and to understand that those things actually do happen. I've had a recent memory of being in this place, and as a child, frightened about going through an assault. I can remember almost climbing over the top of my father and almost getting away, and then obviously being small, didn't have that opportunity, and it ended up in a rape. How things change. This was what was known as the mattress shed for up and coming conventions and camps. The spare mattresses were stored here. Obviously the ideal haunt for pedophile activity. How do I feel at the moment? I feel very agitated, and I'm feeling very timid, and I'm feeling very insecure. The mattress shed to me was and has been for a long time, till I'm sitting here now exposing myself to those feelings and realising that the little boy that was abused in these partitions here has to now be given the opportunity for the adult Tim to figuratively pick him up and walk away from here triumphantly. And I'm feeling that. I'm feeling goosebumps all over my body at this point in time. My head is just buzzing as I'm feeling an inner strength coming forth, as I'm accepting that as I leave this place today, that it doesn't have to be, and it will not be, anything that is going to trigger or empower me or disempower me. I need to understand that I feel at this point in time I am slipping into a child mentality and a child trauma state. I need to grip onto the reality that this is now past. It's been decades since the times of the attacks in this place. What inner strength I'm drawing from me, and what prayers have been asked and said for me at this point in time, I am taking as armour, and understanding that I'm walking away. I am walking away from this place, and knowing that I don't need to see this place again. I do not need to visit it again. It does not hold the traumatic memories. It's a place that stores wood and a tractor these days. Initially I came here to use it as a cubby house, to end up hating the fact that some item like a mattress that I thought in my imagination would give me fun and enjoyment in hiding in amongst the mattresses, to be attacked and have a hatred, have a desperate, sickening understanding that this place held for me. I feel comfortable to say now at this point in time, and expressing that and expressing my true feelings about that little Tim in my imagination at this point is holding on to me, and I've wrapped my arms around him, and he's got his little legs wrapped around my body, and I'm holding him tight, and we are going to walk away from this place right now, and we're going to feel strong and strength from the fact that we actually faced it and dealt with it whatever way we could possibly deal with it. Intuitively, it has felt like the right thing to do. Emotionally, I'm feeling so raw, and mentally I'm scattered. My head is raced into at least a dozen situations that really had nothing to do with what was in my mind when I first got here. However, I'm exposing myself to that, and I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed, but I really feel that it's safe now. It is really safe for me to walk away from this. And my legs don't want to work. My legs are fighting and hard to work, and I just need to keep on going and breathe and understand that this is only a process. I'm Big Tim. I have a big hand these days. As I hold little Tim, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to stand up now, and I'm going to walk away. I'm going to walk away holding my mate. I'm moving down. I'm going to turn and we're going to look at this place. We're going to realise that it cannot harm us. It's all over. It's finished. We survived, and now we can move on. Here is one of my sanctuaries. The corners always made me feel safe, and when I've actually felt that something had gone on, apart from being able to disassociate, I always felt I needed to be in an isolated environment for the injuries to actually lessen, so I wouldn't be walking around with an actual telltale sign, because I felt I was going to be punished for what adults was doing to me. And the explanation of explaining to a whole group of people who lived in this area at this time seemed too insurmountable for me to accept. So I'd always spend at least 3 or 4 hours after each attack away. And this was what was called the boat shed, and the boat shed itself had a little boat in it, and it had materials to fix the boats up with. And I used to hide in this corner, and in hiding in this corner, I would have some sort of safety factor that, you know, they wouldn't find me for at least 3 or 4 hours. How I feel about this right now is that I always loved that view, because it gave me some escapism. It gave me an opportunity to just say to myself that, you know, the world is bigger, and I could always get out there sooner or later. I could get away, and it's always going to be a lot more distance between me and what was happening to me at this place. So how I feel about being here today is that I honour this place. It kept me safe. It kept me somewhere to go to maintain some sanity. little Tim feels like he's sitting here next to me and he's very scared. And what I'm doing with little Tim today is allowing him to realise that, as we've done with the other places, he can walk away today and leave this place behind and really stand forth in an understanding that no one is going to hurt us, you know. And in understanding my professionals who've explained to me the system that I developed, whereas I fragmented myself throughout my life to be able to deal with this abuse and be able to deal with living, hopefully, within the normal parameters of a normal functioning human being. That I feel little Tim, getting this opportunity at this point in time, is getting stronger to actually become integrated and not feel like he needs to carry all those memories of trauma. For they are just that, they are memories. The act has happened, the abuse has happened, the rapes have happened. It's just that we all accept that now, and getting little Tim to understand that we all, as parts of the system, understand that is enabling me, and it's enabling little Tim to realise we can all become part of one. He doesn't have to carry those secrets anymore. They don't have to be suppressed emotions, and they don't have to be suppressed trauma. And this is really liberating me at the moment. I had no idea what this experience was going to do for me. I've been very scared for the last 48 hours about coming into this. And being an ex-SAS soldier, saying I'm scared really means a fucking lot. However, at this point in time, it's really liberating. It's liberating, this exercise, and it's painful to do it. It is still ensuring in my understanding and in my own mentality that this is going to be the crossing point. This is where we move forward. And that gives me relief, and it gives me hope. I don't have to be dictated by the conditioning that went on in my childhood. I've been with my brother for the last 4 days, and I have a clear understanding now of only realising I knew 20% of what went down in my life. And just by being with him and allowing him to not explain, not change my idea, but just being aware of the degradation and treat it like a fucking animal. And it went on for years. And this is just one of those places where it went, and this is just one of those safety zones. And may I or may not get around to all those places. But just knowing that this works, and if this helps other people who've been through this situation, and they can have the courage to go back and visit where it happened, and visit their safety spots, that to me will give me a clear understanding that the filth and the evil that went on in my life can be turned around into good and change. Come on, little Tim. We'll walk out of here strong and safe. Bamboo patch. Believe it or not, a refreshing change to get belted by a piece of bamboo instead of being ragged. Well, I suppose the one thing that's tripping me off the most at the moment is the smell. The smell of the building seems to be very similar to what we looked at, probably over 30 years ago. Once again, it's empowering to be here. I'm feeling a little bit shaky, a little bit nervous, and probably I'm having a hard time formulating words. I'm having a hard time breathing. I'm having a lot of visual images right now, and they're not pleasant. But in saying that, I've realised what I'm doing here, and that is to let the little Tim within me know that it's safe now, and that I'm a big boy and I can stand on those stairs and I'll have a different perspective of looking at things. I'm glad to see the building's run down. It's got graffiti all over the walls, because I hate to see it had turned into something of beauty, and it had such disgust and filth surrounding it. What actually happened for me here was Father would berate me on repeated occasions. The physical abuse was constant. I'm having memories now of being taken from here in a Ford Squire car to people's places for my father's prostitution money, and falling asleep at strange places and not knowing where I was going and when I was going to come back, and living in fear of my life. I'm starting to feel like I have a fear of water around here, possibly being dunked in a bath or something like that. I'm getting an image of it at the moment. So the images I'm feeling are very real and are very sincere to myself, and it's giving me a chance to open up the gate doors on a lot of suppressed memories that I really realise that they have to come out, you know. And as for other survivors out there, take this opportunity and visit the bricks and mortar so these images can come out. Now I can understand at this point that I'm a big person and no one's going to hurt me, especially me. And I just feel like let little Tim understand that he doesn't have to be carrying all of that trauma, and he can realise that it's part of a bigger picture. And as I go through this exercise, that's what I'm finding out, and that's what I'm understanding, that the little bloke and the fear and the pain the little bloke carried for so long, and as I hear as an adult, for so many years that it doesn't debilitate me. You know, it's not going to debilitate me. I am going to be strong enough to stay and understand that, yes, shit did happen, but yes, I'm moving on, you know, and I'm going to make myself better out of this experience. I'll get a visual image right now of myself sitting on this step looking at this wall, which has always had a constant amount of graffiti, and that doesn't matter, you know, 30 years of graffiti, you can actually see it overlapping itself. And how I'm sitting here and I just feel like taking that position right now. I'm just sitting here, and well, I always had the door shut, I always made sure I had the door shut, and this is where I had some quiet time for myself and tried to establish the crazy thoughts and the crazy mentality that was going on for me because of not having any structure and not having any sound understanding of how human behaviour should be. I'm moving now into a lot of inward emotion, and the emotion feels very infantile. I'm going to go with it. I'm just going to let it release itself at its own time. It's a little voice within that just wants to be heard and wants adults out there. If you see this stuff going on, just stop it. And I'm now feeling an integration happening, or I'm feeling a lot of power within. As I feel that another huge scab of black filth has been peeled off, and underneath it is such pristine young flesh, and it's like a whole back. I feel like the analogy is relative to the visit at the last place I was at, and I felt like the legs had their scabs removed, and that skin, that pure, pristine skin of a child is there, and now it's looking like the back, and I see the little bloke standing in front of me, and he's smiling at me, and he's smiling with such a delight of realisation of not needing to carry this pain. He's making a clarity statement to me, as in, we're big, we're strong, and this won't go on. We don't need to live in this world anymore. I just feel like hugging him. I just feel like holding him tight and just keeping him close together. And allowing just his warmth to tingle the nervous system within myself. And doing that's allowed me to feel complete. And this exercise has some sort of substance. And it's powerful, and it's very powerful. It's powerful in understanding that this is all that the exercise itself is really fulfilling for me, and I'm growing stronger, and I'm growing to an understanding that awareness is bliss. To hide from it is only going to hurt me, and to live it is only going to give me life. have to live with trauma. I only have to understand there was trauma, and that memory is memory, and that what I do and what my presence is on this earth is only going to be measured by how much understanding I have of the past, and then integrating that into the best possible future. I'm sitting at the base of the Katoomba Falls. 200 metres behind me was one of my sanctuary points where I would run to. About 500 metres away was the family home. Just saying family home conjures up to me that it was a safe environment that others would understand when they hear the word family. For me, it was anything but. Throughout the Blue Mountains, I have a lot of sanctuary points, and I wish to visit them today. Yesterday was very confronting, visiting a couple of places where abuse took place. At the moment, I'm feeling very daunted by the amount of places that my memory is resurfacing in regards to where I was abused. I've driven past a toilet block that I have very vivid memories of being raped and my father collecting prostitute money. So the exercise will continue, and all I can do is place myself in these environments for a positive outcome, and having an attitude that will surface. I'll take you on a journey now, and we're going to go visit many places where abuse took place, and the culmination of this journey will be able to leave those places and realise for myself and within myself that my little 5-year-old boy and the inner child within me is going to be feeling safer and more secure because I've actually had the courage to do this exercise. Once again, there's a lot of fear building up inside of me. I really feel thankful for whatever spirit guides, higher power, whatever you want to believe in, that kept me safe and allowed me to understand that if I got to nature, I would be safe. And I really, really have a deep affinity for this place and always have. Nature was my sanctuary. Being around humans and adults and bricks and mortar just left me in unsafe places. But if I managed to get myself to nature, I'd always managed to allow myself to have enough time to suppress and just live with whatever system and whatever functioning I had at that time to be able to rejoin my so-called family and imagine and believe within myself that it wouldn't happen again. Unfortunately, it did. this time I'm sitting in front of a house I was at when I was in grade 2 and grade 3. What I'm feeling is really sick in the stomach at the moment. It has a real dark presence and a real evil presence for me, and it still does. The house itself and the configuration and the actual look of the house hasn't really changed over those decades. What comes up for me is a lot of confinement. There is a place downstairs of this building that has a sloping bank, and the sloping bank has a wall built at the base of it, and there was a doorway that opened into this area, and at times I was locked in there for hours and possibly days. I'm not sure, because I've always had a capacity to leave myself and just deal with whatever I had to deal with at the time by trying to find some enjoyment in the fact that I was being confined. And in this area it was playing with insects and bugs and stuff like that, and eventually when I was released I'd obviously would suffer another rape. So the longer I stayed there, the more happier I was in the fact that I was away from that abuse to come. There's also another room that was off to the left-hand side, which was a very small room, and I believe it was more likely a walk-in pantry or cupboard or something like that that had been not used in that fashion. And that was another area that I was locked up in for long periods of time. Reasons why I was locked up, well, they would range from misdemeanor child behaviour that was seen to be wrong or incorrect for the disciplinary understanding that my parents wished to bring me up under. We lived upstairs, and once again there were 7 of us in this family, and it was very cramped and confined space. And at times when there was an actual situation where I could actually run away, or run away after the abuse, or I wasn't confined, I seem to have an understanding now in going through this process that my father, would have a split personality, and the pedophile personality, if that was around, well, I would run, and I'm about to explain to you where I would run to. And once again, it was back into nature. There's a little park for me, and my young understanding till coming back here today was a long distance away from the house. I've just realised and had a look at the park, and the park itself is probably 100 metres away from the house. But that was enough, and I'd climbed the highest tree and just hide in the top of that tree. And that was my sanctuary in this area here. And I would never tell anybody about those places, because that would take away my chance of actually gathering some freedom. And once again, I'd let my little mind try and wash away the events that had just happened and come to an understanding that it was now safe to return home. It never was. This is known to me as the gates of heaven. I got here, I knew I was safe. All I had to do was get into the bush and no one would find me for hours. within this little park. The park itself probably goes about 60 to 70 metres deep down a hill, and it's probably about 15 metres wide. However, if I stayed in this spot here, I could always see if anybody was coming down that way or if anybody was coming up this way. So in reality, soldier skills that I learnt in the SAS and before that were intuitively natural to me, and all because of the way my life had panned out and who I'd ended up with as parents, that natural ability skills were there with me. If I saw anybody coming or anybody moving this way, there was an easy access out to here, which was my escape route, and it was straight down in through brushes and brambles, and it didn't matter to me how much I got cut or scratched in those exiters. When I had to exit, I exited. So I'd sit here for hours and just zone out, is the best way I can put it, to an effect of understanding that this has got to stop sooner or later. And if I kept telling myself and convincing myself, I'd finally get enough courage to go back home. What a contrast from a place that was 30 years ago looked pretty much the same to something that has a lot of beauty and gardens around it. Still doesn't take away the fact that I have to understand that the events that did take place in this place was filth and degradation. I see myself sitting on the back step, crying and trying to understand why am I in this family, and praying to, as I believed at that time, a God that didn't listen, for me to actually be taken off this earth, so I wouldn't have to go through this suffering. I felt quite nauseated from the last place. I felt a real evil presence there. However, here I feel a slight shift. I see that people have enjoyed this property and have put a boundary around it with the fence, and they have their own animals, and there's a car on the grass, and it's clean and it's tidy, and so I mean, the perspective of that to me is that things change, and this is what I'm doing. This process is about, is change, and the change for me, the inner me, to realise that, you know, I'm a big man now, and what happened there happened to me as a child. I don't have to carry the traumatic event. I don't have to carry the emotions and the memory being encapsulated by childlike emotions, childlike fears, childlike trauma. So I've come here and going through this exercise, for me the process has been that I'm an adult today, and today I have to accept that I'm in control of my emotions, I'm in control of my fear level, I'm in control of the traumas that happened to me. And I can either have those cripple me, or I can do what I'm doing now and try and understand that that can all be left behind. And I really feel refreshed in saying that, for I've seen such a beautiful environment. And I feel this part of the exercise has been for me to actually see as in the last property, that evil still existed in that place for me. However, this property, I see that it's been washed. It's moved on. And I feel quite comfortable sitting outside this place. Once again, I had a safe spot. It's not too far away. And as a child, I always thought it was a lot further. But it was my spot and it kept me safe. So I think I'd like to show you that now. Blackberry bushes, which would have gone in about 10-15 metres, and it was one of my favourite hiding spots. I would run down here and hide out, and burrow into the thicket and stay there until once again I'd actually had some sort of understanding that I'd suppressed the feelings of the pain from the body, the feelings of being abandoned, the feelings of the fear, and came to an understanding that, you know, I could actually go home. It seemed to be quite a regular occurrence on this corner because at the time there was hardly any properties around, and it was quite an abandoned area. And I believe that the actual house, our house, was one of the first ones on this street. It was a gravel road, and I used to get scared that they would follow my footprints, and they never did. I don't know what was that was all about, but it always seemed to me that if I ran and hid, something would happen within their personality that would allow themselves into some different form of psyche, and they'd be unaware that I was actually hiding away from them. And I'd come home, and at times there was a total misunderstanding of where I'd been and why I'd run away. And the confusion as a child, dealing with these two adults who supposedly supposed to be my caregivers, my primary caregivers, having no memory, which seemed to me, or no understanding of what they had just done to me. In this situation, my mother was extremely physically abusive, and my father was obviously physically abusive, but more tended towards the sexual abuse when he had his trip persona. And all I could do as a child to try and understand what was going on was my technique, my system I created, and that was all part of my protection. And within the system that was created, the system would allow a loss of memory, would allow a loss of the traumatic event that had just happened, so I could actually come back and try and function within the normal world. But intuitively, there was always that awareness. So eventually, as I was getting older, I'm now within, grade 6, and as I'm getting aware that they are likely to do terrible and disgusting deeds to me, that running was the only option I had. So running into a blackberry thicket was the smartest thing I thought I could do. And the process was in the thicket was all related to release, obviously a lot of tears and a lot of anguish and a lot of anxiety. But once that burnout had come in, I'd fall asleep lying in this blackberry thicket, And as I awoke, I seemed to have had the system had taken me to a point where it understood that it was now safe for me to return. Unfortunately, at times, my father being extremely violent, I didn't always get away. So the thicket itself was utilised intuitively. If something was coming on, I would hide here. I'm actually having a memory now of coming home from school, and if Dad was home by himself, I would just sit in the thicket until I saw the car roll up and park in the yard, and then my brothers and sisters would be there, and that never normally would definitely mean that I wouldn't be attacked, for they were in the same boat. However, it seemed to be a lot safer in numbers. So what I'm feeling now is I'm very shaky. I'm reliving actually sitting in that thicket and talking to a bunny rabbit actually at this point. Seemed to be nature once again would be there for me, and as I'm saying that and expressing that, I'm seeing that as a way that my understanding of a God abandoning me wasn't so true. My understanding is that my higher power was with me, and to give me a memory right now of realising that nature was there. Like the bamboo thicket kept me safe, that was nature. The animals felt safe around me and would hang around me, and these are wild animals. Lizards would just crawl over me, and it was like, there was my comfort, there was my understanding that life wasn't so fucking miserable. It was easy to understand that if I remained in my safety zone and within nature, that the beauty of that, the natural instinct of animals to run and flee from man, and where someone has been in an abuse situation and feeling the need to comfort that person, is a very powerful experience, and I'm really enjoying that memory right now. So once again, by going through the process, I've come out with a positive. I've come out with understanding that little animals and lizards and insects were my companions, and in fact the foliage and as the last place were the gates of heaven, into the bush, into the park, and having escape routes and knowing where to sit, and all this intuitive stuff is all really positive stuff for me to understand that I've had some sort of intellect presented to me through whatever medium to allow me to survive. And that's how I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling like the little bloke and I are quite comfortable standing here. Not only was it our safety zone, but it's also an understanding that we did survive and we can come back here and prove that. So I think I'm saying for myself and for others who have been through this situation that the advantage of going through this is that it opens your mind not only to the abuse and the degradation that you went through, or that I went through, but it also gives you an understanding of how you survived and how the picture starts connecting up, and that, as much as understanding abuse is negative, that the intuitive and the instinctual skills that I developed as a child have made me what I am today. And that is a person who is going through a recovery. And at the end of that recovery, well, for me, I can only see the gifts of enjoyment. I have a favourite saying, I went through this much filth and evil and degradation. I'm on this side of the good and valuable side of life. I've got this far to go. So for me, that experience is worth living for. feeling extremely noisy out here right at this point in time. I have a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. The child within me is just going, let's go, let's get the fuck out of here. This toilet is one of the many toilets around this area that my father prostituted me out to. I really don't need to be here. That's what my head's saying. I'm going to stay here and work through this process at this point in time. It's really difficult for me to formulate words at the moment. I'm trying to grip around and understanding why my father would do that and why my mother would not stop him. It doesn't matter that I have an understanding that they were multiple personalities and one personality knew and one personality didn't know. It still to me does not justify or condone or have given me any sort of relief to have any understanding how these people behave towards me. I have no intention of going through this with each and every toilet around this place. So I'm using this toilet as a generalisation that I am working through this stuff for a belief of the exercise that I'm doing. Fortunately, I've done a lot of work in regards to accepting and recognising and reliving the abuse I have suffered in these toilets within Cynthia Morton's emotional fitness program. And that makes me feel like I've really covered a lot of ground. However, standing out here now, I'm finding it hard to find a positive. I'm finding it extremely hard to understand that I can see a beautiful park across the road from me and I can hear myself screaming in that toilet right now, and I've got to go with this feeling. I'm not wanting to walk away until I have some control that something positive is going to come out of this. I'm feeling pinned up against the wall. I'm feeling the actual abuse going on. I'm feeling sick because I'm over a toilet bowl. I'm feeling that I just want it to finish. I just want it to end. And I know that if I just keep it together and keep grounded, that this process will work for me, and I have faith in that. And I'm having faith in the people who care about me right at this point. I'm having faith that I know that they are with me right now. I'm in faith that I have a higher power standing by me and working this process with me. I believe that this is where I'm meant to be, and I'm not enjoying this. I'm not fucking enjoying this. This is really fucking hurting, and I need to go through this. I've suppressed it for years, and it's like I need to understand that it's something that is all part of the difficulty of living as a survivor, and the abuse is not just the fucking issue. You know, the issue is the conditioning. The issue is understanding that a lot of my life has been revolved around what happened to me as a child, the death wishes I placed myself onto, the lack of grieving, the lack of understanding of people passing over. Well, I thought they was escapism. I thought they had the lucky road. I have something working up from within me at the moment that really is going to need to come out, and I'm just going to keep working with this. How am I feeling? I'm feeling agitated. How am I feeling? I'm feeling concerned. How am I feeling? I'm feeling embarrassed. How am I feeling? I'm feeling worthless. How am I feeling? I'm feeling responsive. How am I feeling? I'm feeling I need release. How am I feeling? I need relief. I need for this to resolve itself. How am I feeling? I need pain. I don't need pain. How am I feeling? I'm feeling pain. How does that make me feel? Angry. I'm feeling fucking annoyed. I'm believing. I'm seeing myself in that toilet. I'm believing that not anymore my luck and imagination, as others have told me. I'm believing that it is all part of what happened, and I'm believing that I need to go through this process. It's extremely difficult. I'm trying to find a positive in this understanding. I'm breathing. How am I feeling? I'm feeling like I'm breathing better. I'm controlling my breathing. That's coming very natural. That is the positive. The positive is I survived. That's all I can take away from this place, is I survived. And I'm still breathing. I feel lighter. I feel slightly uplifted. I feel this is just bricks and mortar. I still have the memory. However, I don't feel the traumatic emotion, the pain that I was feeling 2 or 3 minutes ago. I'm breathing. That's all I can take away from this place, is that when I finished and when it was done, I was breathing. So I don't need to do this with every toilet block in this locality, because that's pretty much a fact of what happened to me. But I will walk away knowing one thing. Because I did survive, because I'm breathing today, that's all I can take away from this place. Change is good. This house has completely got a completely different facade. In that area up there was closed off in my later or early teens, and that was my bedroom, half of the veranda, and a lot of assaults happened in that area. So I'm feeling good that it's actually changed. I mean, the house itself is absolutely beautiful in what they've done with it. The gardens, we had nothing in this garden whatsoever, it was just grass. And I recently got a photo sent to me whilst I was doing most of this pilot program. And the photo is of me standing and lying on the concrete. And the last photos of existence of myself as well. So I think I will go in and have a look around. I'm standing now in what used to be the lounge room of our house, and it's now been turned into a delightful little Irish lady that we've just met, Maureen, into a bed and breakfast. It houses 2 double bed units and en suites to go with it. So in saying that, the house itself and the inside of the house is completely different to what I grew up with. It has beautiful cornices, the colours are bright, vibrant, and the energy is really uplifting. I feel that this being the culmination of the bricks and mortar exercise, that it's been extremely valuable to actually have the opportunity to be inside one of the houses that I grew up in, and it is nothing like what I grew up with. And I don't have triggers going off in me left, right and centre as I feared before walking in the door. It took me a good on 2 minutes to press the button, and I'm really, really pleased that I have. I would have kicked myself for not getting this experience. I'm remembering right at this point where the three boys finally turned on the old man one day and jumping game and followed. And he was a big man, so he could quickly push us off. But it was just a lot of good satisfaction to get one in. And I know today that violence isn't the answer. And I'm feeling that just standing here now with the new colour change and the cornices on the roof and the lovely pictures on the wall and the fact that there's another room off to the side there is all extremely uplifting. I don't have any dark energy. I'm feeling a very positive experience about being here. This was my parents' room. A lot of souls went into there, and I went into that room because I want to keep this experience to having an understanding that change is change, and the negative can be turned into a positive. The negative can be turned into a positive. The negative can be turned into a positive.